When asked to mention prehistoric monuments, the average person will likely talk about famous places such as Gobelik Tepe or Stonehenge, bizarre, isolated groups of rocks in the middle of the countryside. However, in Italy, at the bottom of the iceberg of archaeological sites, we find a hidden gem that fits this definition. It's basically unknown worldwide, but not for the few thousands living nearby. Argimusco is the name given to a group of mysterious ancient rocks of gargantuan size located in the Malabotta Reserve, a forest on the Nebrodi Mountains in Sicily, roughly 6 kilometers away from the town of Montalbano. These huge, possibly megalithic structures are in sharp contrast with the surrounding hilly landscape, and this has led many researchers to believe that the rocks are artificial in origin, or at least that humans have carved on them. Many, however, dismiss this theory and give them a completely natural explanation, claiming that the wind, rain, and snow have corroded them over time. The quote-unquote megaliths, as I will call them, often take the form of familiar objects, animals, or people. Many shapes here and there are easily debunkable and probably caused by pareidolia, but some among them seem too strange to be mere illusions. It's likely that these rocks were already here by the time humans had arrived on the island, but that they have been modified by them over time. But we don't know who or when exactly did this. The eagle is a peculiar rock that vaguely resembles a bird, with its beak pointing towards the nearby Mount Etna. Although its proportions are very vague, the head is well defined. The warrior of the priest, seen from the north, vaguely resembles a human face. However, while at a first glance it might just look like another case of pareidolia. If you look closer, you will notice two strange holes that seem too round to be natural. One on this side and one through the eye socket. It is believed, however, that the eye socket was created by purely natural means when a spherical rock detached from the megalith. There is great evidence for this. The surrounding area is full of such rocks, which tend to emerge from the surrounding ground due to the phenomenon of differential erosion, as they are lithologically more resistant to atmospheric agents. Nevertheless, in my opinion, this isn't simply dismissible as a complete pareidolia either, since the origin of the two tiny holes is still not clear. The praying one is perhaps the second most surprising of all, and possible evidence of human hands. You can see eye sockets on a well-defined head, a possible stone veil, and what seem to be bended fingers, among them a well-defined thumb. It's also pointing north, another indication that it might have been way more than just a casual rock formation. The most striking of all is the pool. It's highly unlikely that its suspiciously rectangular shape was created casually. You can even see the layers of rock on its sides. It might have been carved on by someone long time ago. What could this have been used for? And why did someone carve it? Overall, evidence seems to point to the conclusion that the rocks were already there, or at least many of them, but that the possibility of later human modification must not be denied. What does history written maybe thousands of years later have to say? Those who claim that some of them have been transported in the air by humans believe that this must have happened in the Bronze Age. In this period, Sicily was still linguistically untouched by Indo-European peoples, and the natives were likely to share the beliefs of other pre-Indo-European groups. The statue of the Praying One could, according to this theory, be a representation of the mother goddess worshipped by the Minoans and by the Neolithic Europeans. Sicily, in the at least late Bronze Age, was likely inhabited by the Sicanians, a people that later suffered the invasion of the Indo-European Sicily, as attested by later Greek historians. Their origin is unknown, but the Greek Thucydides stated in his histories that they were an Iberian people that traveled to Sicily by foot, and gave it its current name. Diodorus disagrees, believing that they were an autochthonous people, as the obscure historian Timaeus of Tauromenion also believed. If we take into account the fact that the pre-European peoples of Iberia were notorious too for their massive structures, to see this theory could explain why the Argimusco megaliths exist. But we must keep in mind the existence of the Sardinians, who too are remembered for the stone structures. Yet we have no evidence they had any linguistic relationship with the peoples of Western Europe. On the other hand, it's possible that the older temple builders of Malta from the 4th millennium BCE might have influenced the Sicanians, but nothing similar to the Maltese temples has been found in Sicily itself. The Sicanian temple at Cefalu, the closest to them, dating to the 9th century BC. So far, we have no evidence to prove or disprove the influence of the Sicanians on the megaliths. But this isn't a definitive debunk of the artificial theory. At 9 kilometers from the site, the ancient town of Abakanion was located, in which human presence is attested from the Neolithic period onwards. The oldest historical reference on Argimusco is the Historia Sicula by Bartholomew of Neocastro. In the work, written in Latin from 1250 to 1293, the author writes about the presence of King Peter III of Aragon at the time of the Sicilian Vespers at the location called Argimustus. In Argimusco Tegodet, Paul Davis and Alessandro Mosco highlights some possible alchemical symbols. If observed from the entrance of the site, the menhir is a perfect and disturbing reproduction of the symbol of the alchemical owl, a symbol of the goddess Minerva and the ability to see into the occult. Next to it, we notice a smaller megalithic menhir, defined as a symbol of femininity. It actually represents the pelican. It is a reproduction of the alchemist's steel, called the pelican, or an alchemical steel, where the alchemists distilled the liquids for the production of the philosopher's stone. It is assumed that the term argimusco derives from the Latin muscus, moss, present everywhere across the site, attached to the rocks, and argi, from the ancient Greek argos, shining or glittering. It is also quite notorious the theory according to which the Catalan alchemist Arnold of Aragon used it as a place to collect medicinal herbs for King Frederick III of Aragon. Some suggest the pool was used by the king to cure gout through leech therapy. However, there is no known document that attests this fascinating hypothesis, and the only two historical attestations are documents written by medieval chroniclers. The rocks to this day are still shrouded in legend, and I hope that they will get more recognition in the future. I would love to see archaeologists dwell deeper into this site. Thank you for watching. Sorry for possible inaccuracies or bad English, but I don't have much time to make these videos.